Mobility in a New Reality panel discussion. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to welcome participants of today's panel discussion that some have arrived from Moscow. I'd like to welcome them at our territory, the Republic of Tatarstan. You have come to a wonderful land. We are celebrating the Day of the Republic. In the framework of this Day of the Republic, we are also celebrating events dedicated to 100th anniversary of the formation of Tatar Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic. And I'd like to accentuate the fact that in the framework of the digital economy national project, issues of mobility for our population are very important. Our population is interpreting the issues of mobility differently. Our population are participants of the Euro traffic. And every country is having its own approach to these issues. Russia as well has its own priorities, strong sides, and various drawbacks. And when the question of mobility comes forward, we start asking questions of what is convenient to people, what do technical solutions that we start having give to us, the people. We are probably accentuating more transport components related to participants of the road traffic. We are accentuating this because the topic is closer to us. And since the end of 90s, early 2000s, in Tatarstan we have implemented different approaches that allowed us to be providing for various solutions that will be giving higher degree of mobility and the options of various services implemented. Some time ago, we have been implementing various backbones for the mobility solutions. Back in the beginning of 2000s, the database is established when we were issuing driver's license, registering vehicles. We introduced the concept of digitizing humans, individuals. We were registering individual taxpayer numbers. That was an area where we were receiving criticism at the Russian federal level, but digitizing information on people was making sure that the databases that we were developing were keeping their validity. This obviously gives us a composition of data that can turn into information, and thus decision-making to make sure that participants of the road traffic are feeling more comfortable deciding on and tracking information about their behavior on the road, as well as the state of their vehicles, as well as recommending and organizing our system for technical checkups for the vehicles, forecasting movements of different even passenger vehicles. I started with this question because these simple solutions are allowing us to increase the mobility.
An example in 28, when we introduced it, it is one of the elements which allow us, without breaking any traffic rules, to provide good traffic speed and at the same time to decrease number of accidents, number of fatalities. And you understand that all these delays in the road, they decrease my mobility. I can give you a lot of examples, but I would like to put an accent on that all these solutions are local. And one comment that is no secret, it's on the Russian Federation. Unfortunately, we do not have any unified organization which would work on this system. Why? Because the mobility and what is done for the pedestrians and for the drivers, that's in Tatarstan we conducted conferences and we organized organizations which try to put together everything which is done already in this area. And I believe that there is such thing as a smart city. That's smart city. It's a Russian project, a safe city project. That's a Russian, all Russia project. And in these projects, we solve certain problems, and that is why now we, when we talk about, I would like to put an accent on what you have done in this project, so that our people and our people feel more comfortable on the roads. What's our future? What lies ahead? It's again, one more comment. You understand that you can say that yes, mobility. Well, you don't have to develop them. You just have to use them. If you want to get somewhere very close, very quickly, get some service. That is why China had a strategy, special strategy for internet development, for zero internet, which allowed in such a big country to have a breakthrough in digitalization. We have solutions already which are used by people and with the good results. What way will we go? It's not up to you, but we will have to provide our opinion. Mobility and digitalization, two things. This is what I would like to talk about. And before we move to the issues, what I'm going to ask, development of the Department of Development. This is Roskovsky Evgeny, Deputy Technical Director, Kazan Telematika. Nikolsky Evgeny, General Director of the Radar Company. And Bulat Shamsuddin, Operation Director, Robotics Center in Apolis. I wanted to say that in the beginning I just told you that nowadays Tatarstan is a region where a lot of innovative solutions are implemented on the federal programs and the Smart City program. And this project we just had some mobile applications and on the level of municipality. And this year, within the national project safety, we just started new direction, intellectual transportation system, where we get financing from federal budget. And that's why we think, just using this the federal approach, maybe we will have a breakthrough in solving this challenges of the smart city. So Wildar, the floor is yours, who can explain to us what it is and what it can give you us in future. You've said several times smart city. Most people now live in the big cities in the planet, so 20th century was a century of urbanization, which allowed us to achieve certain economic achievements, but urbanization and many people concentrated in one place. It has some negative problems, of course. Big cities, Moscow, New York, or Kazan, they had the same problem, traffic jams and mobility of population which feel in the city. That mobility is going down because we have more and more people and we have more and more cars every day. And the problem of mobility nowadays can be solved. We implement a lot of solutions, automatic traffic control system. We have special video cameras which decrease the number of accidents on certain parts of this city. But at the same time, what is smart city? Smart city is kind of a collaboration of different solutions aimed at one purpose, in which you have all aspects of life of people who live in this city. And when you implement the concept of smart city, you have to stay within three rules. Keep three rules. So those solutions which are implemented, they must be open. They have multifunctional, not just some sensors or detectors. working within one system. No, they must be open for possibilities of integration, of interaction with other systems, which in the long run can lead to the economic effects, because you spend less resources and less money. At the same time, you can achieve your goals faster. Second, safety. Correspond to some ecological norms, and life of people must become safer. And third, which I believe is probably the most important, is the solutions must be, there is such a rule, the term is flexible. So any kind of equipment, all solutions which we implement must be continuously evolved, and so that all lead to creation of more comfortable environment. In China now, they just probably leaders in their in this area, because 1/8 of all population of Earth live in China, and they do manage to govern big cities with several dozens of people. And of course, technical gadget is not the solution. You have to cover interest of all people in the city, and of course we're talking about science here, because complicated solutions, complex solutions must be science-based. That means we have to train people from early stages, from universities, from schools, so that people who want to live in comfortable conditions and ecologically clean cities, these people must be involved in generating solutions. And if we talk about video control, and a couple of times our colleagues, for example, were late for studio. There was a big traffic accident in M7 Federal Highway. The whole traffic stop for the last 10 years. We doubled number of cars on the roads in Tatarstan, but in spite of this doubling, the number of traffic accidents decreased on 30%. It's a good indicator that we have more. Everything is more streamlined. We also have to implement them engineering projects. And several times I noticed that people like new technological things, and it's monowheel or electric scooters, and we have a lot of them in Kazan. And when you realize the smart city program, yes, you have to understand people use the segways and scooter, but sometimes it's not good to move from A to B, because they still have some obstacles or curbstones, which is difficult to overcome. So smart city is not just a local solution, implementation of one system. It's a culture, and this culture must be practiced by the government of the city, the local authorities, and people, of course, because culture impacts, first of all, on the mentality of people who learn in certain areas. Coming back to our achievements, and Rifkat said that it's video surveillance, and we have these elements of remote control, and we identify about 75% of traffic violations automatically. For the last 3 years, we have implemented the system of dimension control and weight control, which excluded the human factor. If we talk about some other achievements, so we now have portal for giving the special permissions for the heavy weights. It has a positive impact on our account, because people don't have to spend a lot of time to go to the office to fill some papers manually, get some documents. No, you just have to get your account and use your account in this portal. And the trend last 5 years is the development of the neural net. And during the last year, we implemented the system which automatically verifies and gets information. that it helped our employees, and the workload dropped to 60%. So, look at this slide. Look at how efficiently this system works. So we basically get rid of the human factor. We also very actively developed neural net in identification of traffic accidents, and we see what happens in the traffic, because nowadays in our republic, I can of course make a mistake, but we have more than 50,000 cameras. In Kazan, it's about 5,000 cameras, and crossroads, as a safe city program, and we can use these video cameras to increase safety using neural net, which can fix maybe left some objects which appear on the road to. They also can monitor the intensity of the traffic, and in the long run it will give us a lot of information which can be used in designing roads or adjusting adaptive system, traffic control system, and to help us to understand how people move around the city and what places people visit most often. That's what I wanted to say, and let me say again that smart city, it's not just one solution, it's not just one technology. It's more about culture, it's more about digitalization, it's more about behavior and the culture of life in this special place. You mentioned smart city, safe city. We always operate, you use these terms. What's your vision of why it happened that is it the same, safe city and smart city? Or you just show that? So you will get information not only just from cameras, like crossroads, but you use cameras which are in public places. So the more information traffic you process, what's the future for these two projects, safe city and smart city? Good question. So we have safe city program and smart city program. Two different answers depending on whom you ask. If you ask technical specialist, what's the difference between smart city and safe city? Technical specialist will tell you there's no difference in implementation. This and that project, first and second project, we have some technical solutions, detectors, sensors, surveillance camera, and so on. Yeah, the technical person will tell you the same thing. But if this question is asked to this question is addressed to the bureaucrat or government, they give you different answers. They have different budgets. Unfortunately, now in our country, we have this specific thing that when you have a task and when you have a budget, and it is solved locally or separately without any integration with your neighbors. At the very beginning I said that one of the concepts, one of the main tasks of the smart city is multifunctionality. So there's sensors, there's information, there's database which you have inside of the city. They must be available universally. If in the long run it allows to increase the traffic and decrease the pollution. So different organizations must cooperate, must talk. First, not to spend too much budget money and to make this database available. And so I'm talking about organizations which can do something with certain information and decreasing these financial expenses. So I saw many times that in some crossroads you see 1, 2, maybe even 3 cameras, and probably these cameras are installed by different institutions.
Some within different programs, one might be for safety, one for some other things, and the third camera might be installed by an entity that's nearby and wants to know what's going on right in front of their entry into their headquarters. One more question. What out of technologies available today, what, say, quick and fast technologies can be used today for us to provide for further increase in the increase of mobility of citizens? I'll be asking question to you and others as well. I don't want you to be going astray from the topics that you have to share here, but maybe you can comment. To increase mobility, we obviously need to introduce neural networks, new technologies, adaptive crossroads, but sometimes we forget about social component. Since very childhood, every man and every lady has a desire to buy and own a vehicle. Nowadays, if you are living in the city, owning a car is very inconvenient and unattractive. That's answering to your question of what could increase mobility. In here, I would say that self-consciousness of people when they start using public transportation, taxi, or electric scooters that you can rent. You can significantly decrease number of vehicles on the roads, which will increase automatically to increase their throughput. It will improve eco as well aspect and the mobility I was talking about. Alexander? Sasha? I think for the population, for participants of the road traffic, main criteria would be, of course, convenience and safety, and I would agree with Eldar that owning a vehicle in the city in today's situation might be unreasonable, and we are coming to this. On the other hand, I would say that the increase of such platform-based systems such as adaptive road traffic management system, and I would be talking more about this in presentation, which gives the priority to public transportation, priority to special transportation, will be allowing people to be bringing their children to kindergartens and schools, be at work on time. That gives significant economic benefits, plus obviously ecological component. The fewer jumps, the cleaner it is. As a resident of Moscow, I can of course look at my own example. Within recent years, we see the way adaptive traffic system works in the city, where it is installed at a wide spectrum, and the number of traffic jams is over. If the number of traffic jams has decreased, then you can go and buy a car and drive it, whilst majority of population is moving to use either car sharing or taxi and public transportation, because this helps them to get to the points that they have, where they have meetings planned much better because of the mobility. Maybe the issue of parking lots. When they have lots of parking lots and nobody wants to move to let their cars at home and everybody's driving. Evgeny will tell that. Mine would be about the mapping technology. It's a different story. I would just say that we can't influence processes we don't measure. And to improve mobility, we should be regularly measuring how much time does it take for one person to get to specific points or following the standard routes using different transportation means. If you will be measuring those things regularly and that information will be visible, everyone, including ourselves, will be seeing how mobility is evolving and what technology. That's clearly a mix of technologies. And if you tell me one technology, a quick effect, I'll probably speak about our solution, the maps that are giving you in real-time analytics. You'll stop on that in your presentation. Bulat, what would you say? But please don't connect it to your driverless cars. I will make a step behind because it won't resolve those questions. Driverless cars is day after tomorrow. We would like to see a comment about technologies of today and tomorrow. Cheaper and effective. We are talking about today. I will probably agree with Evgeny that it's online analytics updatable in real time about the movements and the passenger flows, about how people are getting from point A to point B, what are the obstacles, and how their routes are evolving over time. Let me give a comment here. We are traveling to various European and world conferences. They are living in a world where youth is giving up ownership of vehicles. They don't even often know what is driver's license, using car sharing, taxi, public transportation, and that is very, very popular all around the world. In that sense, they are somewhat ahead of us in some questions, and we do see that trend. We don't yet see that in our country, which is why it's important for us to still concentrate on training drivers. And if we take a look at we are differentiating by gender. They don't do that in the West. Ladies are getting their driver's license in greater numbers. In that sense, they're getting driver's license, but and it's possible to use other transportation means. That is also there in the West. You might be surprised, but it seems that young Russians, especially young men, can't live without a car. But at the same time, we are seeing a different trend. We start having more and more solutions for individual mobility, using rental solutions offered by various aggregators, be it Yandex, be it others. Talking about taxi, we have Didi, we have car sharing. Those things are giving, say, quick effect nowadays. But you as participants of the road traffic, driving or using car sharing or taxi, one way or the other is a transportation flow, and we need to be managing those. And in the framework of the transportation management system, there are solutions. And in Tatarstan, one of the first among regions, we have implemented this, designed in 2012, implemented in 2013, done by Sasha Dagan. I guess we would have him to report on this. Thank you very much, Rifkat Minnikhanov. Thank you very much, dear colleague, for the chance to speak. Let me continue. Yes, we are from Inspectra. We have over 12 years of history. One of the main design projects was implementing adaptive road traffic management systems that was having a module of advanced rights for public transportation. Over the course of the evolution, we have tested and implemented a number of modules allowing for routing special transportation means. The main targets of the system is improving the throughput capacity of the road chain, increasing the average speed, optimizing routes of non-standard transport flows, managing situations in extraordinary situation, as well as special transportation. At the moment, there's 144 traffic light equipped crossroads. We have also introduced a system which was then unprecedented solution at the global scale, cloud-based computer-aided traffic management. We have done that in Kazan. We scaled it to Nabizhnye only, some 5 traffic lights, about 40 video detectors that help us to provide for the optimization of traffic, calculating number of vehicles, and then communicating it into the adjacent traffic lights that are in the system in Kazan. We have 695 detectors around the town. A system operator gets such information on the throughput per hour. You're having a diagram of the signal groups, as well as giving you a map and overview of the crossroad. Priority for the public transportation is, let's say, conditional. It is integrated into the dispatch system, and it allows our transportation means, on top of moving on the allocated traffic lane, it allows us to speed up a delayed route, and that way we are optimizing road traffic for the public transportation. Priority for special service vehicles, we also ran a number of pilot tests that have shown that they are effective. 20 traffic light systems to fire brigades number 3 and number 5 that engaged all of their firefighting equipment vehicles into this project. That priority is clear at the moment when the operator is giving a task that special purpose vehicles get to a specific facility and extinguish or the emergency situation. They are given a priority whilst other routes are being blocked and giving the access. And I would go in conclusion to what my colleague Ildar has said. It's good to have a platform in the city that can optimize traffic. And an advantage for the future is that it can be easily integrated with such systems as V2X, vehicle to infrastructure, when vehicles are interacting with the road infrastructure, and the infrastructure is giving feedback to other participants of the road traffic. That allows an optimal integration with 5G, which to my knowledge is not yet launched widely in Russia, or maybe launched in some pilot areas. And as Bulat has said, that is related to analytics, and that can be collected and publicly demonstrated real time to optimize traffic flows within the city and outside of the city. That would be an optimal, probably quickest way to have an integrated system of road traffic that would be satisfying such criteria as safety and comfort, not just within a single city, but at the level of a region. Within any system, and in this case, that's computer-assisted road traffic management system. You probably have a distinguished, specialized module that is processing some solutions and making decisions. And in the framework of scaling this system, be it for one city, be it for a number of others, what are the options? Can we use what has been developed in Tatarstan, in other cities, and other regions? Because the main component is, of course, is not the crossroads and detectors, controllers, but it's the core, which is the main cost component element. Is there a prospect for that? Well, I believe there are these prospects, but it would depend on the availability of regions that are looking forward, that have the infrastructure, have the foundation of communication channels, etc. Well, I know people do in other regions have communication channels, but one way or the other, those channels should be reserved. At the same time, we know that nobody is allocating money for reserve capacity, and they are working with what they have, and the modern data centers are providing for what's necessary. 100% preservation of data, as well as working of the system, because the various equipment we have at hand allow us to do that. But at the same time, I know that some other cities, such as Chelny and others, are connecting to cloud technologies. Why can't other regions use that resource? Well, other regions are not Tatarstan. You are an advanced region, not to offend Moscow colleagues. Well, but the openness to innovations in Tatarstan was always greater. I don't know whether colleagues would agree, and every director has own perception. Every person feels that the box, the server, should be under his desk. I think that might be an important obstacle, cultural obstacle, why such a solution is not accepted widely in other regions. Because outsourcing, it does work. You connect this this crossroad and to the existing system and start being adaptive, etc. I believe that the most important is a preventative measures on avoiding traffic jams. Do people feel it, that it's getting better? Not talking about the priority for public transportation and emergency services, because the priority, giving priority to public transportation and special transportation means the throughput capacity is decreasing overall, but since those public transportation and the emergency services don't go every time, overall there is some saving in time. Over the period of time when the system was introduced into operation, having analyzed the pool of the course of the 7 years and the big data we have collected over the course of 7 years, we have seen that in case of what's 25 to 28%, the speed of crossing the segment has increased, and on average, basically from 25 to 30% increase in effectiveness and respectively traffic jamming of the city. Well, in Sasha's report, we have heard that in the framework of the adaptive traffic management system that was implemented in 2013, today, at the next step, we start talking about vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle, and others. So we are now approaching closer to complex solution of adaptive traffic solutions, and we have with us a company that works on complex solutions in the framework of the smart road concept, which is probably first and foremost related to driverless driving movement, but Alexei Evgenich from Kazan Telematics, but the entity itself is located in Moscow. I will be very happy to get our drivers, that Kazan Telematics is the one responsible for installation of Platon, that all our cargo delivery services love very much. They are capable of delivering complex solutions in the tasks of organizing and monitoring cargo traffic movements. They are using their resources at paid roads, toll roads. I believe Alexei will speak more about this, but I'd like you to accentuate the concept of a smart road, because smart city and smart road sound similarly but different functionality.
Well, I would like to add a couple of words about our company. I think I advertised the company already, so all interpreters will know now. Now they know us not only because of Platon, but also weight control. So what can we do? We implemented this project Platon, and we continue support it, and we also implemented projects on mass and size control, and also garbage collecting and landfill monitoring. What about success of this? It's a good system. Yeah, let's talk about mobility. Okay, all right. And all our solutions we test on test in test field. What we have in Kazan and we have here in Moscow, but our this is our joint testing ground, and it's important for us because and it's important for us for our testing our solutions on the testing ground. We installed first Platon system, then we installed the weight and weight and size control. Then we added some sensors and subsystems, and now we are the only one who have the whole set of components to check size and weight of vehicles, and we can conduct any testing necessary for transportation companies. And if we want to confirm some parameters, you can do it with our laboratory. And this system can be, of course, improved on, upgraded with the system of automatic traffic, then meteorological stations, weather control, the sensors which give information about intensity of traffic, then because we have a special panel where you can see the drivers can see the changing of the situation on the traffic on the road. And nowadays we develop system Platon on original roads, and we develop system Platon and make it more universal. We just need to improve some quality of the sensors which react on the weight of the vehicle, and our software. Now moving on to the smart road, as colleagues told about smart city, and smart road is more about more distant, longer roads. And here we have our working platform, which puts together all peripheral subsystems located along the road, and including the self-driving vehicles, and it allows to increase safety, traffic safety, through connection of driver and getting information in real time from drivers to this monitoring system, and send information back to the driver necessary for safe driving. And the first stage, we plan to implement a system of drivers informing, and on the second stage will be the self-driving cargo transportation. And of course, these components of the smart road should be put everywhere. So we are implementing project the toll road, and on roads where drivers have to pay, where we can collect money from drivers with more efficiency, I mean, without stopping vehicles. And it, of course, simplifies life of the driver. Oh yes, you are about collecting money. Well, this is our sixth segment in which we work. So as for the weight and size control, so I always supported this system, but it is not exactly connected with the quality of roads, and I believe that the system of the weight and size control, vehicle size and weight control, this probably will help to exclude the human factor, so it must be completely automatic, it must be tuned correctly and calibrated. And why is it mobile? Because automatic weight allows to monitor the cargo traffic more efficiently, because on the stationary checkpoints, when the traffic is very intensive, or at a certain time of the day, a certain season of the year, there can be huge traffic jams on these checkpoints. You just said that this system, the Platon system, will be on the regional roads. Yeah, you can have it if it is. We have this question. We think that if we have this toll system, toll roads and municipal roads, you have to cancel transportation tax, because if you drive more, you have to pay more. And nowadays, the transportation tax collected with the horsepower of the power of the vehicle. It doesn't matter whether you drive 24/7 or your vehicle is parked. So you understand? Yes, I believe that the regional authorities will start talking about it. Yes, you have to cancel transportation tax, and that's what I wanted to do and to say. If you continue topic of smart road, yeah, smart road is whole system is. We are aiming at the self-driving vehicles, of course. There are different solutions, and we just try to do the different ways. So the first time in the 2012 in Vienna, I was in the self-driving bus. I was in the conference, and at that time we just talked about it. In 2016, first time in our conference, we showed the self-driving Kamaz. I will say nothing else. I will not. But it was self-driving Kamaz. I will not tell you the details, otherwise you will laugh. I don't want to make you laugh. In 2018, we really saw the self-driving Kamaz, which was better, and you know that now they have a shuttle program, Kamaz, and on Crimea Bridge, and now Yandex we have with their self-driving vehicles. It's a very important topic. It is developing very actively, and we got our own project. Well, Kamaz is our own, of course, with a little bit different ideology. But Bulat will probably tell about his center of robotics. So Kamaz builds self-driving vehicles, and Bulat as well. So Bulat, please. So let's share with us what you've done there in Innopolis. So we all knew that Innopolis is associated with Yandex Taxi, which goes there. And what is the difference between your approaches and Kamaz? I know you have contact with the Post of Russia, so the center of robotics of Innopolis develops all possible robots, but with this center they have a laboratory of the self-driving vehicles. It was organized in 2018, and we immediately started with the pilotless vehicle. So we have KAMAZ, truck and passenger car. The technologies are different from the ones which used before. It is the same technologies which are used by Yandex, the technologies which are used by Tesla. We don't do any breakthrough projects. We research and prove the feasibility of using self-driving vehicles through implementation of a universal modular system which can be put on any vehicle. We developed our sensor units, our control units, and any vehicles with CAN bus can be used as a self-driving. We built a simulator in a virtual space. We tried and tested and simulated all possible situations. This unusual behavior of the vehicles, the people crossing roads. So all possible situations were programmed. We understood that our system can work in a virtual world and then put the car on the real road. And now our self-driving cars have passed already 26,000 kilometers, usually in Annapolis, and together with the Mail.ru. With Mail.ru, we drove in Moscow. We didn't have any traffic accidents. Every day, every week, we improve our system. And nowadays, we can say that today we are ready for the self-driving. And now we're talking about legislation. How can we officially get the licenses and get necessary certification? How can we get through all necessary certification in order to let these self-driving vehicles be used in public roads? When we do it, when we get an instrument, a legal instrument, and instructions what to do, what certification, what testing, this car can go in Kazan, Moscow, Zelenodolsk. Only after that we can say that we have done everything, and then we can move on. Yandex Taxi, you are in Annapolis together. Any big differences? No. I believe that Yandex has the resources and they have more database because they drove more intensively. And in the global market, Yandex is recognized and they have public testing even in America. We work very intensely with Huawei company. We work with the DD company. With their new taxi service, we work with the Mail.ru company, let alone with a lot of world university with which we cooperate. Our technology definitely is not worse. So we are now working a lot with technologies which are being widely used. And KAMAZ, and you use, I think, you have Hyundai, you have Kia, and KAMAZ, three cars. They all have gasoline engines. Legal documents, even if you have legal permissions to use these vehicles, wouldn't it be, for example, stopped by the filling stations? Because nowadays we more and more we use different types of filling stations. But for now, unfortunately, electric, talking about electric vehicles, so charging stations. So I think even if you have a legal documents will have to use only electric cars. But for us, we don't have the problem of how to use charging station. We have a special laboratory in our center, and to make robotics in special charging point for the self-driving vehicle is not a problem. Don't you think it's better that the charging battery, the communication is much easier than putting the hose into the tank? Why not just go along the way and develop electric cars? Yeah, I understand we have winter, but I know that in northern countries the self-driving cars are developed as electric cars. Yes, when we have electric cars, we, with our ideas, we have ready-made units. We just install this unit on any vehicle, whether it's electric, whether it's gas engine, in a month or maximum in 3 months, with all necessary documents, we can put it on the road. In one of the conferences, we said that self-driving cars, in order to understand their efficiency, we have self-driving trains, metro, subway. Why don't we go along the way of having special lanes on the highways in order to show their efficiency? It's Kazan Telematics said today that do it for the cargo transport, and it is mostly used on the closed territories. Because it's easier, and then move to container transportation. For trucks, of course, it's easier. They're more dangerous, but it's easier to implement certain systems for them. So maybe, what about this idea of pilotless vehicles? Do you think about it sometimes, or it's you don't discuss it? We discuss it. We discuss it. It's a very good idea, and it's mostly about that. It gives us a certain. It's kind of a certain distance between certain space between completely self-driving vehicles and traditional cars. So people will understand that if you have a separate lane, people will understand, yeah, okay, we have self-driving cars, but people will feel safer, that they will simply give them time to get accustomed to driving together along with the self-driving vehicle, but not in one traffic. Where'd you get this idea to use this technology? You know who was the initiator of this idea? Mixed traffic. I mean, who is originated? Who gave this idea to have separate lane for the self-driving cars? No, there is a researcher, Alexei Nashekin, and one of the congresses when we were there, he gave us this idea, and when we talked about it, so Europeans didn't understand that it is possible to do, because they're going ahead of us, and so we have a person who gave this idea. So, well, I can't say that we were supported by Europeans, but I think that nowadays, working on the legal paperwork on these things. I think that this idea has the right to.
Well, just my observation. I don't know if that would be implemented or not, but just for the record, I decided to give the name and surname of the person who is responsible. I would like also to comment here, as general context, we are living in the market economy, lots of companies developing various solutions. There's Yandex, there's us, colleagues from Kazan Telematics that have an E-engine, me and others, plenty of players. Even UAV, based on lidars, etc. Every company has its own algorithms about identification, monitoring behavior, various objects around that vehicle. So my question would be, would you be willing to open up your solutions or your algorithms, because open source solutions are developing faster due to the community contribution? Do you have any ideas about, say, publishing your algorithms and generating a trend for everyone to take part in it, the IT people, software developers, etc.? Did you think about that? We have even done first steps in this direction. We have fully opened up, disclosed the source code of our simulating project, what we were testing it. You can treat it as a sandbox test using which any team can test their system and make those developers. We have done a lot of work. We have uploaded into the open access. Anybody can download it and start working. In that sense, startuppers have some sandbox in which they can test some ideas of their own. Yes? It gives a possibility of integrating or connecting all available development platforms, allowing you to start in the system, developing your system, different equipment, be it in the urban, be it trains, be it very special purpose equipment. Well, what are the base requirements for your transportation mean to be able to hit the road? Do you need a map? Do you need some markings? Do you need it or not? Speaking about today, the better is the road, the better is road marking, the more effective is the behavior of the road. But we already have a project of pilotless commas crossing the various complex terrains. I know that previously you had a drone that was guiding it. Yes, it's important if the terrain is especially dangerous. Right now we have program solutions without drones as well. We are using maps with the geoinformation system. Right now we are using the maps created by them. But it's also a possibility to connect any maps into our system. In that sense, if there would be unified, mutually accessible, uniform unmanned aircraft, unmanned vehicle accessible map, that would clearly make a step forward. Well, on your right is our colleague Ilya Alexandrovich, who has certain technologies. As a person with military background, I have certain certain bias towards the precision of maps, maybe Google Maps, etc. maps that are widely used might be enough for some simpler tasks, but for UAV, as well as economic tasks, as well as other purposes, we need a more precise maps. And Evgeny Alexandrovich will talk to us about technologies that are available to provide for this. Director of radar company, Evgeny Alexandrovich, we met him some 5-10 years ago when they were developing a map of road signs as a mobile app. When the database of road signs was created by drivers themselves, they were passing that information in the database, they were processing it, and then this map of road signs was being created. That was a solution of your startup. We liked it. Maybe even more than 5-6. If I'm not mistaken, that was 2015. So that's indeed 5-6 years ago. We were beginning in 2013. Today they are a serious company. We are as open as before. Also, some joke is appropriate. We are indeed doing maps for unmanned vehicles and safe cities, and continuing the question, addressing the question of whether unmanned vehicles will ever be able to do without a map. We as humans, when we are following the very same route and we know the road well, we can choose what turn to take, at what radius, etc., because there might be some bumps on the roads. And the same thing is true also for unmanned vehicles. In that sense, we are believing that we need a map. We are accumulating the data using community model. At the same time, we can rely on various identification means using public transportation, vehicle sensors, and we are looking and developing these services at a global level and make sure that people that are collecting it would be able to benefit themselves too. Though now I would like to speak about maps as a driver of mobility. We are speaking about mobility as a solution to speed up reaching specific points. Keeping in mind Russian climate and environment, we think personal vehicles will be quite popular for quite a while. Not to speak about Moscow or car sharing as a winner. I don't think that in the peripheral cities and towns, vehicles are probably won't give up. But the stories about gyro scooters, etc., are developing, becoming popular even in smaller towns. And when we start thinking about how to make sure that a person with such a transportation mean be more effective to reach some location. So we are thinking about whether there is a necessary infrastructure for the use of personal mobility solutions so as to have a better and safer and quicker routes. And if talking about public transportation, how to make the route more effective to get from point A to point B faster, which this is the prism through which we are looking at HD maps. We are using various sensors, be it smartphones or various other sensors at vehicles to get such maps, to collect the total data from various participants in the roadmap. Road users, not just the data from lidars, but tracing all the changes in the real time reflected on the map. And that way, we are not just seeing the route for a regular bus or personal vehicle. or a truck, we are also looking at whether and identifying whether some personal mobility solutions could go through here, using various apps, collecting that information. And we see that such an approach is the only solution that can give you collecting such a map in real time, updatable. Because classical approach is LiDAR, and LiDAR is installed on the vehicle, and if you take a look at even larger cities, you will have single-handedly or tens or sometimes hundreds of such vehicles in larger cities, and each one of them costs millions, and it's impossible to launch such vehicles driving around, updating the map. So our technology, being much less expensive, we are inviting that solution for people to use to accumulate data about any kind of routes, even some narrow walkways in various places that people are using on a daily basis. We believe that the speed of commute within the city is a good indicator, looking at the data from people that are new in that city. If we understand how they use city transportation infrastructure, we get information about whether we are effective or not. For example, just like in my case, I teleported from a traffic jam you mentioned and got here twice faster because I know the shortcuts, whilst the person who is new for this within this infrastructure system won't know that. And the maps we are offering would be giving a chance to map all of this locality, and that will give you a chance to get wherever in most effective way. Though I'm talking about places where a regular car with a LiDAR won't ever be able to reach. And that way we would be able to improve the situation. In that sense, I believe it's impossible to build this system that is maximally effective without real-time data. In that sense, we are doing something that allows us to measure various parameters, experiment with various routes, see that in real time, update that quickly, which allows us to iterate and get to optimal solutions. That's our proposal. How many sources of data do you use at this very moment throughout the daytime? At the moment, we have 25,000 drivers on a monthly basis, about 5,000 of them per day. Are you capable of giving information on traffic jams the way Yandex does? To get jams, we probably need more participants, fewer for maps. But if we start analyzing traffic from cameras, we would be able to analyze the situation much better when Yandex does using GPS trackers. Using this machine vision, we will be able to calculate the flow of vehicles, but you would need to install that on a public transportation means, because 5,000 people per Russia is a few hundred in Kazan. How can we find your shortcuts? You have access to the app, but you can contact us and we will show you what we have collected. No, that's free of charge. We would be able to show it to you. But to use that for the improvement of navigation, we need a higher intensity of coverage. Evgeny, you are localized at Innopolis, and Bulat is also within short distance from you. So it's theoretically to be expected that you should have some relationships established Or don't you find a niche for yourself, a niche for cooperation? Well, we do. We are interacting with guys doing unmanned vehicles in Innopolis. We are saying, guys, we are collecting the map using cameras, and you are doing it with lidars. Let us demonstrate that you can localize with cameras, that as good as using lidars. And guys gave us the data and from lidars, and we are planning to get the data that would allow them to get their location of their vehicle from us only. For them, that would be cheapening the system that they would be able to supply, because you might know that Tesla gave up lidar use and localizing at cameras, and the precision at our cameras is 3-4 centimeters. In case of Tesla, they don't give specifics. They just say that it's no worse than using lidars. So I believe that camera-based localization technologies have the future. We can give up lidars. There's obviously the other side of the metal. Lidars are becoming cheaper and cheaper. So the question is whether we'll be able to develop the technology quickly, or will lidars go so cheap that nobody will be looking for alternatives. But I believe that the global mapping is only possible with using crowdsourcing, engaging people to contribute into the developing of those maps. You can't give lidar to everybody, even if it grows cheaper. We won't ever have as many lidars as smartphones. That's a long path forward. So I believe that technology will be. That's your client, you know. We are in touch, we have contacts, because in case of a smart city, this is closer. We even jointly did identification of car models. Evgeny, I have a question. Do you have a system of, say, random errors? On lidar is scanning landscape. The technology they use is giving a minimal degree of error. Whilst we have a video, there is a chance that something just gets into the frame. Is there a system that allows you to discover errors? For example, if some transportation means goes or something grows along the road, can your algorithm identify that this is not, say, some beam or something? Well, such errors are possible when you have a single pass by, but with a few, we are getting the precision, and using the same number of passages, we are leveling these factors. At the same time, once we have built a quality model, we know that we recognize that one of respective passes was giving us certain error, and we are teaching our neural network to automatically disclose all those cases and teach the system in a way that we won't repeat the mistake from the similar data. And right now, teacherless teaching in case of unmanned vehicles has very good roots. In case of one of the companies, foreign companies, with one of the founders, an engineer from Russia, he created detection of transportation based on neural networks, taught without learning without a teacher, and the system identifies issues at a level of a few pixels. So such approaches, when they give you a chance to identify true data and identify some deviations, these obviously have the future, and the quality of the work of unmanned vehicles will be improving using these technologies.
They are the pioneers, and they were given good investments, but if you can do it, so the others will follow. So people will understand very soon that it's possible to do it. Tesla, of course, is very active in there, but company with a smaller budget, it's more difficult for them. But this way or another, all these self-driving technologies will be more efficient, better than humans, they will work faster. And of course, future belongs to them. Can I ask you a question? Do you use mistakes which do you learn from mistakes from Tesla? You remember that one person was killed because they used combined algorithm, so the self-driving vehicle was going down, and suddenly a person jumped out of nowhere, and he was hit on the road. It was a big scandal, but Tesla very quickly just find a way out from it. Do you take into account these mistakes made by the leaders of the industry? It's a very practical issue. What happened with Tesla? I heard only about Uber and didn't hear about Tesla. It was closed very quickly. It happened. It was a scandal. In California, they can very quickly stop talking about it. There was another scandal in which a woman from Russia in Los Angeles last year, her child was on the back seat. She left in the parking, wanted to get the child, and she could not open the door in order to unlock the doors to get the child out of there. So this situation was very quickly hushed. So people are afraid of new things. They are afraid of artificial intelligence, and for me it was interesting to see how all these mistakes are taken into account and what we learn from these things. In our case, we are on a safer side. We don't do anything about with this active safety. But as for the quality of data which we collect, we understand that we'll be trusted only when our data is so correct that it's just impossible to have a traffic incident because the data was imprecise. We try to drive through the same territory, and we try to average all emergencies, and we try to build algorithm in a way that they find some kind of if algorithm we try to teach algorithm to be flexible and to find a way out from different situations. In the company, it must be definitely taken into account. We use it not only in the active safety system, in any project. If we build in the pipeline such process which allow to fish out mistakes or situations which can lead to mistakes, of course it increases the quality of our work. Thank you. Thank you. So, dear colleagues, we can talk a lot about it. That's an important topic. So that is why, as a moderator, let me just finish and just say again that this is a very important topic, and a lot depends on the policy defined by the Russian Federation, where to go. You understand that this buzzword digitalization, it's all about what we develop. One thing that you can have this resource, but the other thing is just to make them available for people. Even the adaptive systems, they collect huge databases, and so far as the algorithm of traffic light depends on the traffic, and now on the mobile gadget drivers, you can give information when the red light or green light, we still don't have it, but you understand that it'll increase the traffic. Just it'll give additional information. So there are a lot of solutions, and a lot of trends in your spheres of your professional sphere, and we have to make it real, and we'll have to explain it to people who drive. And today I would like to invite all of you to the conference, to Kazan Digital 2020, from 21st to 24th of September on our site. And we will kazandigital.com. Please register there, get your account, and please upload your results in our online exhibition. We have the catalog, but still, I think it'll be interesting information over there. You can upload it there, and for them will be interesting. If you have it, you can register as speakers in different sections, and we have Kazan Telematika there section. And I would like to see all of you there. And let me thank you again. You, Farah, deputy of our company, Alexander, deputy director laboratory, Alexei, Kazan Telematika, Shamsudinov Bulat, Robotics Innopolis, Nikolsky Evgeny, General Director Radar Company, for your very good and useful for us meeting. And I hope very useful for those people who will watch our plenary session. Thank you very much. So we finish our meeting.